Hello, Rachel.
Hello, Ryan. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. I feel like a new man.
Oh, what? Why is that?
It's just being able to discuss just something with a bit more life in it makes me feel rejuvenated.
Oh.
My head has been so low lately with things on the pod that it's great to be able to look up a bit. If you catch my drift there. How about yourself? How are you doing?
Okay.
Well, there she is, everyone. Just okay.
I'm having a good time, and I'm excited to get this discussion underway.
Yum Yum Podcast is the name of our show, where we are always the most yummiest yum yum hosts of them all, because we are husband and wife team, Ryan and Rachel, and we watch and discuss episodes of television shows, specifically science fiction thus far. We started with Star Trek Discovery. That's where the name came from an infamous line of dialogue. Then we moved on to Babylon 5, Space Above and Beyond, and now we are talking about The Expanse. We are exploring it as newcomers. We have never watched this show before. We have never read the books. We haven't engaged with any of the other extended media out there, the game, the comic books, or what have you. This is all new to us, and we've been going through it bit by bit, piece by piece, episode by episode, and giving our thoughts on it, discussing it, and seeing where we land on the given episode of The Expanse that we are talking about. And Rachel, where are we up to now with The Expanse?
We are happily leaving season 4 behind.
Oh, man. I feel so strong now because of season 4, because it was quite the workout. But we have left season 4. That means, I guess, we're on to season 5?
Yes.
Well, what's the first episode of season 5? What's its name again, and what is happening in it?
Exodus. Holden tries to convince Fred Johnson to destroy the last sample of the protomolecule. Naomi gets an important lead to her son. On Luna, Avasarala begins to hunt for Marco and Naros.
This is a starter episode. Of course it is. It's the beginning of the season. It's a premiere, and each plot is giving us information, putting the characters and pieces in place for what will be happening throughout the season. And so the summary could keep going and going and going, because every character pretty much...
You get a plot, and you get a plot, and you get a plot.
And do they all get yum yum?
A plot that always gets yum yum for me is whatever Amos is doing. Amos is not in a good headspace right now. And that feels a little weird to be thirsting after him when he's clearly not doing okay.
But he seems so upbeat in the episode.
But you know what is damn fine? Holden without his shirt on.
That was the yum yum of the episode for me. Holden shirtless. They know that they have to start off every season by giving us Stephen Strait without a shirt on.
At least.
If it's not,
at least, damn it.
It's not a real season without him popping his shirt off.
No, we get Naomi in her underwear, and that is not yum yum.
They gave her like I guess like a singlet or like a dress, like a undershirt thing, and some underpants that were the kind of least attractive type they could give this actress.
Yeah,
we have seen
they're functional.
Yes, exactly. We know for a fact that Naomi has sexier underwear than this. We've seen it before, but this is what they gave her.
She's not wearing it now.
She's you know why? Because she's in a relationship with Holden. So she's a bit more plain.
She doesn't need to.
She's not trying to flirt with.
She's not trying to.
She's not trying to seduce him in.
She's not trying to make herself feel sexy because she's going on a mission after her son.
So it's not a sexy time for her.
No, but you know what was a bit sexy and had Amos?
Mm-hmm.
Amos hitting on Avasarala again.
Called her Chrissy, which is what I used to call her.
Yeah, you did.
Am I Amos? Am I him? I don't know. I haven't watched all of the show. Perhaps at the end of this...
I thought that might be your pick. For Holden shirtless
that was flirty.
Is a very obvious pick, but...
It's the correct one.
Yeah. I thought that because, we're getting a little bit of a sexy undertone with what used to be your fave.
And your fave.
And my fave.
They did have a flirtation.
But that's not my automatic Amos pick.
Oh, you actually do have one?
Because I kind of forgot about that. Until, before we were recording, you were mentioning that as a moment that was a lot of fun. Because my automatic Amos pick was going to be him in the shower.
Spitting up the blood?
Not before that. Not that part.
Where are you going?
I'm gonna go take a shower.
You crazy kid. You know what they're gonna do in there.
Yep. I hate waiting.
There's a lot to consider in terms of the thoughts on, because I will say I'm clouded.
I think
because of the bias
judge it
of
as
season 4.
An opening of a season. We'll get to the baggage of season 4, but as an opener, does it make you interested in the plots that it's offering up?
It's
overall.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm having struggles.
I'm keen to watch the season.
No, I was saying yes. I understood your question.
Oh, sorry.
But yes to that as well.
Okay.
But it's a bit trepidatious because I cannot tell how much of it is just the excitement of a new season in itself, the excitement that things are viscerally different to season 4 already, and in a way that is familiar, like, oh, they're different, but like how previous seasons were in a way. And so I'm also at a point to where the episode itself was so much we are making our characters separate off and they all have their little plots, that there was a certain amount of disengagement from the episode itself. So overall, I like this episode. It does have me intrigued of where the plots will go and where the characters will go, but I was aware so much that it was an episode utilizing certain tricks of the trade to get to the points it is getting to, and this 4th season was not a particular favorite of mine, and so anything after it feels like a breath of fresh air. But is it actually? We'll have to wait and see. What did you think of Exodus?
I thought that it was pretty solid. It's following through on things, but the tone is very different, and the writing doesn't feel as clunky.
New opening credits.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have too much to remark on.
No, they're just kind of like, okay. Also, with the Expanse credits, it really does strive for communicating a meaning and a tone that will reveal itself as the season goes on.
And locations that we will be spending time in that we have yet to meet or will meet in the given episode. So we see the lunar base, we see a seaside or ocean side of Earth, and we see a couple of other things. But it wasn't as pronounced of a change up as the last season was, with the explosion and the ring and so on. But it was
not bombastic. That's not what it's going for.
Yeah, it's not as whiplash-inducing of a change. It's not that remarkable. It's just that's what Luna will look like. Okay, and then when we saw Luna, that's what it looks like according to the opening credits as well. So it's more just a tradition. Every season will have a new thing in the opening.
yes.
And of course, when story relevant stuff happens, the openings will change. But we do have some new cast members added to the opening credits, ones that indicate what will be a focus. And I just really wanted to just say it, but I believe that Philip is added to the opening credits, the actor of Philip and the actor of Marco. They're added to the opening credits. So they're going to be throughout the season more prominently. And that means
feel like they're
something in
kind of be sprinkled in, or I feel like for the first little while they'll be there, but not up front and center.
They must be with credits, with being credited in a show. You have to have
There's
a certain amount of things
to it.
And there have been actors who I'm shocked were never in the opening credits, like the Terry Chen who played Prax. Like he was in the show enough to have been in the opening credits, at least for the first half of season 3. He was
but
in.
It also depends on negotiations.
Yeah, in contracts. But Fred Johnson, the actor Fred Johnson, he's never been in the opening credits of the show, and yet he's in the show a whole bunch. I get it. He's a guest star, but that's the thing. These people are not going to be like how Fred Johnson or Anderson Dawes or Prax are used, or Anna, where they kind of come in and out. They're going to be, I imagine, in the show. So that makes the opening of the season a lot more impactful in a way in which we see it's Philip, and Philip's getting up to stuff for Marco.
Him.
Yeah, and then when you after having seen the opening credits, they're credited in it. So we are really actually going to have them. This isn't going to be like last season where hints and little tidbits.
And we kind of get their plot bookended almost, because we have is it outside of Jupiter?
Venus again.
Venus.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Venus is the one, because it's never good luck over there.
No. Marco's sent Philip there to get intel and to stop them from investigating the asteroids. And they kill everybody and blow up the station. And then we kind of don't hear anything about that or check in on that plot until the end, when we get a very sinister monologue narration by Marco, and another official countdown.
Yeah. The opening of the season did not fill me with joy, because everyone on that station, everyone, I won't include like the OPA guys necessarily, but
very cop last day before retirement vibes before they even rocked up. So it's just like, okay, so they're going to be dead in under 10 minutes.
Oh, I was just going to comment that the acting wasn't very good, and it was very reliant on ADR.
Yeah.
And it was not an elegant kickoff to the season.
No.
And you got hung up a lot on the blocking and the visual language and logistics of that one OPA guy who got stuck, and then he got stuck even more so.
Yeah, because it was just like, he put his foot in there, but how did the bars, and why did the bars move, and then why does this netting come over him? I made you rewind it so that I could watch it again to see if it made any sense, and it didn't to me. It just happened, and I'm like, why do I feel like this is the thing in the book?
Well, I thought it was just bad editing for some of it, and just quick, easy information. The guy got his foot stuck in some pipes, because why wouldn't he? But
it's just like, oh, you're here just to let us know that Philip is willing to let people die.
Yes, Philip is
and
on the path.
Whole hog in with his father and his beliefs.
That's it. And the editing, or the way it was visually communicated, this OPA guy getting stuck, with his foot was fine enough, but then he gets his foot out, and then he falls over, and he falls on top of, I don't know, this metal netting stuff, and somehow
like
it
a
snaps in a way where
thing.
most of him is underneath it now, and I don't know.
Like it snaps over him
so-
like it's a safety net almost.
It's so quick, the cutting, and you're just having to accept it and then
it's
move
like,
on.
Okay, I'm waiting for you to die. And then he gets out of it and it's just like, no, there we are. There we are. You are still going to die. You just almost got out, so there's a little bit more tension, and it's making it even closer to the bomb going off, but it was very clear from the time that you got stuck the first time that nobody was going to come and help you, and you weren't going to make out of it, like, alive. You weren't going to get away far enough in the time that you did have.
They, timeline-wise, keep things in check via the asteroid launches. So we've jumped ahead since season 4, since the asteroids were launched off basically after Ashford was killed. It's been, I can't remember, like 170-something days.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to say I think that because I swear they've used that number once or twice already, but maybe that's just me mixing up. Who cares? It's a bunch of days.
It's a couple of months.
It's a couple of months later, and throughout the episode, we keep marking time by checking in on the trajectory of asteroids, which I thought was very effective. And it's simple, but it's effective. And
yeah, it's good that they're reinforcing the ticking clock.
And we're seeing at the beginning here, an asteroid got too close to the sun, and that's why it broke apart and started shooting at this base. The OPA, or Marco's gang, had to deal with that so that clean up the mess. And it just shows you that their plan, although will be deadly, it isn't necessarily 100% foolproof or precise or invulnerable. There's going to be ways that they could be found out, and so they have to be on top of it all. Because yes, they have the stealth technology on these asteroids and no one can see it, but we know too that Ashford recorded a message that could undo their plans. We see that just natural circumstances can do it, as well as just people's observations could lead the attack to be undermined. And so Philip and Marco have to be like bloodhounds on this and track it and make sure that everything is going according to plan. With this check-in of the impending doom of this attack on Earth from Marco, it's instantly more investing to me as, I guess, a current season-long or episodes-long story element than what we were given last time. Where last time, I and you both rolled our eyes at, we're going to have to go to the planet of the farmers and help them.
There's a reason that this is taking as long as it does, other than this is going to be the next couple of episodes, maybe even the season. I don't know how much they're going to like condense, if it's all going to be in those 12 days or like if it's going to go beyond that.
And
but the stuff on Illis kept on being stretched and folded and creased and scrunched up and manipulated in all of these different ways so that it fit a season-long arc.
And with this, it's very reminiscent to what was the dramatic high point of the series, which was Eros hurtling towards Earth.
Yeah.
It's the threat of annihilation, the threat or the promise of the status quo being changed irrevocably. That's more intriguing as a viewer than what Illis was about, which was a thing that's in the distance from everywhere else and on a philosophical level will matter in the long run of like how humanity manages itself.
The practicality of it matters for them at that moment.
With more protomolecule ruins being discovered on the new colonies, scientists and archaeologists continue to speculate about the function of the ancient machines, as well as what awesome power could have wiped out the builders, seemingly in an instant.
The Ilus issue of humanity going out to the stars and colonizing even though we are quote-unquote not ready for it works as a background element, a philosophical musing and debate, which you can tell is the case because it was the most effective in this episode in the news report in the background.
Yeah.
Where we got
Yeah,
a check-in of how society has changed since Ilus and the worry, and we're finding more and more and more ancient alien ruins and artifacts, and we still don't know what any of them are, but we're going to live right next to them because there's resources, there's more planets like this, there's more remains, there's more stuff out there that we just don't comprehend, but we're going to do it anyway. And Jim Holden is seeing this on the TV, like just humming away in the background, and he just cocks his head and just is like, what was that about? Oh, well, I've got other things I've got to deal with.
Like, oh, fuck, what are they doing now? And it's weird because it feels very convenient that they're putting Holden and Fred together because, you know, it makes sense that the Rossi needs to get fixed, but it tees up a bunch of other things very neatly for them.
The Rocinante is at Tycho, but not everyone from the Rocinante is on Tycho. It's just Holden and Naomi. And
Amos is heading back to Earth, and Alex
is at Mars.
Arrives at Mars in this episode.
Yeah. And one of the things to say that you and I, as people who podcasted about Star Trek Discovery, noticed is the person that's repaired the Rocinante, that actor, that performer, was May from Star Trek Discovery. And maybe they won't play a big part in this season, but because you and I have seen them in a not prominent role, but like in a fairly significant role significant, it was a bad story, but they were on screen a lot.
Yeah.
In a season of another show. It's like when we saw Sean Doyle as Ehrenreich, and we went, oh, we know that they're going to be a thing. I'm just calling it now. This character who's like, I repaired the Rocinante because I give you a hero's wage, you know, that character.
Discount.
Yes.
And they have a boss that's a stickler and is up in Naomi's face and calls it robbery instead.
And there's a disagreement between the person who repaired, this person you just mentioned, who's like the head of the docks or whatever, and Fred. Because this guy, the one who's like all up in Naomi's face, he doesn't like the fact that Fred Johnson is in charge in the way he is and really giving the luxury of things to people like the Rocinante and not to the Belters or to others. And so without hitting you in the face so overtly, you already get
distrust of inners has been established.
Yeah, and you know, just talking about this, it wasn't so ham-fisted that they're telling you that there is discontent happening on Tycho, which then
it's showing it.
It's
not
showing
telling.
it. Yes, which then adds to the dramatic irony that Fred feels the most comfortable he's ever felt. He, throughout this episode, is Mr. I'm comfortable, I'm relaxed, I'm no longer a soldier, I'm a builder, which is...
I've moved on.
I've
And it's
become
just like,
better.
Oh, you poor, sweet summer child.
But we even see with something as
What?
small as the Rocinante getting fixed up, because he said that they should get fixed up or his name carries weight, is already a point of contention under Fred that he's not even really that aware of, because
he doesn't seem to be attuned to his whole crew. And it's a thing that keeps on popping up in the show, that the people at the top want everybody to be working together, playing nice in the sand pit, but that doesn't reflect the feelings of the masses.
At the end of the day, what we see often in The Expanse is people who proclaim or believe that they're doing this for the whole. They're doing this for everyone. They're doing this for their family, their friends, their people, their tribe, their humanity. But we see that they're doing it for themselves in some fashion, whether it's for good reasons or not. We have that in part with Naomi in the episode, where she's utilized Fred Johnson yet again. She's leaned on him yet again for help, even though she started the series
he's followed through on the favor that she called in.
And he's been a reliable resource for her to use, but we've come a long way since her.
They're bonded.
Yeah, we've come a long way since season 1, where she didn't want to even talk to him.
Still doesn't trust him, but Naomi is willing to work with Fred. Like there's enough of a trust and enough of a rapport between Naomi and Fred, which is interesting because we usually see her being very hesitant to trust anybody, let alone an inner like Fred with the history that he has. And Holden usually trusts people a little bit easier until they really show him that they're not worthy of his trust.
I think a difference between Holden and Naomi when it comes to Fred Johnson, and I don't think this is wholeheartedly the truth of it, but I think it's something interesting. She trusts Fred more because he's a man of action, Fred Johnson. Like, she's seen him follow through on things. He's helped them out. She's been having to use him in the past, and he's stepped up to the plate. Holden doesn't trust him because he's not a man of his word.
Yeah.
In Holden's eyes.
It's a reflection of their values.
Yeah. Holden has seen Fred Johnson play the verbal game of politics and wheel and deal, and he sees this persona, while Naomi trusts him more because she's reaped the benefits of Fred's actions rather than his words.
And we see her benefit from his actions. He's followed through. He's found where Philip is, and that's going to enable her to go after her son. And it really is a very palpable scene when she's having to tell Holden that he can't come, that he would be a liability.
Not just because he's an inner, but he is the James Holden. The Rocinante crew have become famous. Not all of them.
And we've been seeing that kind of echoed in different parts of this plot. Like Amos gets pulled apart, but Amos gets targeted somewhat and isn't known by other people on the
on his ship. Yeah,
was the Lazy Songbird?
Yeah, something like that. A fun name.
It was a fun name.
But they didn't know of the Rocinante.
They're playing with his reputation, and same with Alex, and same with Holden.
And Christian is banking on their reputation throughout the show, and I liked the Naomi scene of her explaining why she has to go it on her own. I think that they as a couple handled it really well. They argued their points. They emoted the correct amount. Like, I didn't feel like she was overly emotional and he was overreacting or not reacting as strong enough. Yes, it was not an overwrought scene. I only have one complaint about it, and it's just an overarching thing, which is I challenge the writers. I challenge them
You're
to
throwing
a
the
duel.
gauntlet down.
I'm dueling them for
Is it
them
a gauntlet
to...
or the white glove to the face?
Oh, it's a glove. I don't want to hurt them that much, but actually a gauntlet because it will hurt them to write Holden and Naomi as a couple without some unnecessary drama or something keeping them apart physically.
It would be
dare
nice.
you. I fucking dare you
It would
to do
be
it.
nice.
It would be nice for
You
for a
know
change
what
of
I
pace.
think their solution to that is going to be, though? A sex scene.
That's the ultimate way of coming together. Season 5 is already an improvement because they actually listened to our Season 4 recap and said, yes, we will bring back characters Ryan wanted to see again.
Through time.
Oh, man, I was so thrilled to see Monica. She was physically here.
Loved it. You were so giddy in your seat when she turned up.
I lost my mind.
And I was
lost my
very
mind.
pleased that she had enhancements.
Yeah, she had a mod in her eye.
Mod in her eye to record, and it's been a while.
Her
since-
cameraman died.
Yeah, it's been a little while since we've sort of touched in on that part of the sci-fi world, and I really enjoyed that.
Since maybe Clarissa Mao, she had some
Yeah.
modifications that made her super strong. Oh, Monica is here, and
You
I
want her
am...
to stay, don't
Oh,
you?
she's made it abundantly clear to me that she's
sticking
going to be
around.
here.
I
Yeah,
really
she's
hope
sniffing
they
around.
follow through on that.
I want to just comment on one thing that I found absolutely bananas and strange. And it's just one of those things where clearly in the script this makes sense, but in reality it didn't work, which is Holden looks at her and says, wow, you've changed since I've seen you last. She looks the exact same.
Exact same, and it doesn't
Like the
come
same
off
hairstyle,
as being sarcastic.
No.
It doesn't
and-
come off as like, oh, you're up to the same shit. It comes off like he's talking about her appearance and she looks the same.
And then she's all, well, when you see the end of the world in front of you, you get
It
harrowing and
changes
it
you.
changes.
it's
And
just
she
like,
looks the same.
no,
She doesn't look harrowed. She has the same ponytail.
sorry.
She looks fine. And but it's
Doesn't
there.
work for me.
But it's there because then she says, oh, well, you look well rested. Because Holden was very tired. Very tired when she saw
he
him.
Got fucking
And then
he
he has
got
the-
wrecked by Ellis as well after that.
Oh, yes. But then he can have the nice little back and forth about how, oh, well, that's not completely true. I'm falling apart, but it just doesn't look it. It was a cute little scene, a cute little exchange of dialogue, but I did have a big laugh at it. She looks the exact, like nothing has changed since we've seen Monica, except for now she has a camera in her eyeball. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. Like,
See, we laughed at that, and then we laughed at Fred for a different reason.
oh, what was Fred's one? I can't recall.
Oh, just Fred being like, I'm a builder now.
Oh, that. Yeah. But Monica is here because she needs to give Holden his season-long plot, which is there's leftover proto-molecule being experimented on. Do you know about any leftover proto-molecule? Who could have it?
Fred!
Could it be those nasty OPA? Could they
nasty,
be sparking off something that they shouldn't be?
Of course, Fred's holding it hostage. It's what he said he was going to do the whole time.
He stayed true to his word, and then
Yeah.
Holden's affronted by that. He's like, what?
What?
You stayed true to your word?
And it's just like, oh, I don't want another super soldier plot, please.
Oh, I don't want a super weapon plot, please. Man, this
I'm
is...
afraid of what they're going to do with the proto-molecule because, it doesn't feel fresh anymore. Like, the threat just...
Well...
It doesn't feel as strong to have the threat of what are they going to do with the sample of the proto-molecule when we've already had the escalation of the fucking intergalactic rings
I think they know that because the way that Holden discusses the matter with Fred is through this exasperation and this anger that Fred, after everything that happens, should know better.
Yeah.
You should know better.
You should agree with me.
You have helped us stop the extinction of like the human race at several points because of this proto-molecule bullshit, and yet here you are still fiddling with it. Have you not learned a single thing? And I think the show is utilizing that aspect to give a little bit of credence to, we've done the proto-molecule plot so much that it's almost lost its meaning and or its threat level. And the thing is, Fred doesn't know one thing that's important to all of this that Holden learned last season, which is the proto-molecule is an agent that activated some mega threat that's beyond our comprehension that killed the things that created the proto-molecule. I found this out when I went to Illis, and
I'm going to share that information with you now.
And maybe that
also
will change your mind.
Thing.
Yes, maybe that will change your mind, Fred. That there is a
There's
dimension
smoke
out.
monsters.
Yeah, there's smoke monsters. There's
That,
it's the lost creature. It's the creature from Lost.
I did not find that scene scary. I just kind of found it a bit funny. Like, I found those effects a bit goofy, and it's Holden's being so serious and stern, and I'm just like, smoke monsters.
It's a smoke monster.
It's a
smoky monster.
It's a smoky interdimensional monster.
Do you
and it's
wanna-
gonna come eat you. Nom, nom, nom,
Do you
nom,
want
nom,
a
nom.
schmock and a pancake? How about a bong and a blintz? Okay. So, I still don't like this plot development that we've just traded one ancient alien evil thing that's blue for another ancient evil alien thing that's orange now.
Yes.
Like, it's okay.
Blue is less evil than orange?
Hold,
Maybe.
Holden, and they have a recording from LV, describe this entity as another alien force.
Yeah, they've created a rendering.
They describe them as another alien force that live in between spaces, I guess, like in some kind of different space, a third space perhaps, and that the rings are theirs is the thing, and that the ring builders, or like the builders or whatever, the proto-molecule, either way, the whole thing is
Them traveling is upsetting these entities that we don't understand and are beyond our comprehension.
but they're waking up because we're basically kicking the shit out of them when we travel through the rings, and they're going to most likely exterminate us or fight back or do whatever happened to the builders of the rings.
And we don't have a shot against them because we aren't as powerful as the builders. So, and they fucked over the builders, so we ain't got a chance.
It goes back into the overarching conversation points that the series keeps having of what is our level of responsibility with the power that we have. Now that we've gone into space, does that change anything about who we are? Now that we've encountered aliens or alien remains, does that change anything about who we are? It is the, you give a monkey a stick, they'll inevitably beat another monkey to death with it.
Quoting that, Aaron,
It's
right?
a great quote. It's probably arguably the most important quote of the show, because it keeps coming back to that debate. Is he right? Is he wrong? And we see other characters having to make that something that they chew on throughout the series. And
It really is your framing question.
it is. And with this threat, this overwhelming threat of, if we keep meddling with the technology, we could bring about our own demise. It's a good thing to have. I just don't know if I care that much about this avenue of exploring it, of like, there was another alien race that got pissed off at the other race, and we're just
Yeah, it's like, oh, you gotta
cycle
go,
of history.
You gotta go bigger. You gotta go bigger. You gotta go bigger. And it's just like, I miss it feeling tangible.
Yeah.
Like, and a bunch of the other plots feel very tangible. Like, Holden's left on his own. Christian's annoyed that she's been exiled to Luna.
What are you doing here? I thought you were like Queen of Earth.
You don't keep up on current events, do you?
Only the ones that I could do something about.
I love Alex's ex-wife.
Oh, man.
I love her.
She was a hero, wasn't she?
She's just amazing.
Did you
love
write?
how she puts up with his shit?
Puts up with it. She shuts him down. That's how she puts up with it, by putting it down.
No,
saying, Fuck you, Alex.
Sorry.
Get out of here. Did you write? Did you write this script? By the way, did you write this script? Because
I
it
was
sounds
just
like you wrote
she puts
this
up
one.
with it 0% accepting of Alex's bullshit, and I agreed with every single fucking thing she said, and it's very much what she's already said to him. Like, you don't get to know, you don't get to be a part of our lives. You walked out. I'm not opening the door for you. And then, like, slams the literal door in his face.
She's not going to give him the answers.
He's still being a fucking dickwad, being like, I'm not going to give up. No.
Yeah. She doesn't give him the script that he wants. She even deconstructs it. That's always the most annoying part of an argument, isn't it? Where the other person you're arguing with no longer plays by the script of the argument and says, actually, this is how the argument is working, and I'm not going to do that.
I was working up a good mad all day.
I was working up a good mad all day, Delenn. Yeah, it's exactly that type of thing, except for she's doing it before the argument even begins. She's just coming in, cutting him down, rightfully so, because although he's had some growth, he hasn't had enough. Because, was she wrong?
No, he still feels entitled to be back in their lives.
He thinks, oh, well, I've had this wonderful little character arc in season 4. That means I'm deserving of being able to reconnect with my family.
I gave another character advice.
So I'm following it up for myself. But it doesn't work like that. You can't just walk back in and try and do it. And still also think of yourself as the cowboy who's roving space with his friends and in the hot shot fast ship flying around, being an ultimate
being
like
a show-off
cocky boy
as you go into Mars.
Yeah, that's it. He was a show off. He's showing off to her how much he's changed. But has he actually changed that much? Not really. And as people who have had a major gripe with Alex as a character, well, but like we've had our issues with him, and mainly in the way that the show has intended. Is this, other than the catharsis and the satisfaction of his ex-wife or previous wife shutting him down, is this a good furthering and development of his character and that problem he's had with his past?
Yeah, I think it is, because it does show how stubborn he is and how he still doesn't get what the problem is. Even though she's so direct with him, he's just Delulu. He's delusional.
He's Delulu?
He's Delulu.
All right, Rachel's saying he's Delulu. He's delusional.
Alex is Delulu when it comes to this.
Yeah.
Thus, he sent that motherfucking message that I will never get over and I will never forgive.
The worst part of the Alex stuff was that he, not just the message, but it was the fact that he wove this narrative and expected them, the family, to abide by it, even though he wasn't.
Yeah.
And when we
if
saw
I believe
his
hard enough, it'll be the truth.
Yeah, and it's a very, you could say, a very patriarchal view of things of like, I've got the wife, the kid, the home,
But
the
it's also
job,
like-
the reputation,
It
and
feels
surely
like a very
everything will
Martian
stay.
thing because they've been taught to believe in the fairy tale.
And yet he didn't live the fairy tale and expected them to, even though he wasn't. He
Yeah.
wasn't. And when we saw his son last, his son still believed. His son still
but
admired
his son
him and
is living his life,
no longer
not waiting around for his dad, living his life.
no longer believes in his father. In that conversation on the phone, you can tell that the kid no longer is going to like the mother, like the wife, no longer going to play Alex's story out the way
No.
Alex expects it. He's no longer, the son's not going to say, goodbye, I love you.
I have a question. When he rocks up, he says, I thought I would surprise you. Do you think he meant that, or he just never thought to call ahead and ask?
It was the opportunity, wasn't it? I saved the galaxy yet again.
And
I have some time off.
I'm near Mars, so I'll go home.
Well, it's a two birds, one stone, because he's going to see Bobby and see what she's up to as well. It's not
Because
just
he bothered to call her.
and make arrangements with her, but not his own family.
Yeah, because it's just like, well,
'Cause they won't accept
Bobby
him.
has her own shit, but they don't.
Bobby understands me, so I can phone her up
I
and talk to her
fucking
and make a
Love
meet up.
Bobby serving Alex at that bar, by the way.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, this note I have in our discussion is Alex goes to Mars and no one likes him. No one likes Alex in the episode. Everyone's annoyed
Bobby's
by him.
having a bad time.
She's having a not very good day, yeah. But before
a
we
very no good bad day.
before we move away from Alex, I love talking about his character because in this grand sci-fi war political setting that we have here, where one person is chasing after their son who's joined a terrorist group and their father's going to annihilate Earth,
Basically a child
or
soldier type.
or a lead character who's going to try and stop the reactivation of ancient alien artifacts, and on it goes. I like that Alex, even though he's a cool pilot of a spaceship,
He's still a twerp.
he has the most human stories in the
Yeah.
show. No matter how cool he thinks he is, he's just a loser who's abandoned his family for like a midlife crisis, and he has to put it back together again. But the thing is, can you do that? This show deals in a lot of tropes and archetypes, and of course Alex fits a lot of those too, but his story just is, I find, inherently the most relatable, to a painful degree at times. The production and set design of The Expanse had a lot of fun in this episode, because Alex meets up with Bobby at a bar, and it's a cowboy bar. And it's
Cowboy
so
neon?
it's so over the top. Everything is so wonderfully over the top. You can tell that the production
They were
had
like,
so much.
We're going to dress it this and this and this and this and this.
Someone said the bar stools need to be saddles. Someone said that, and they all agreed that was the correct answer. And I loved that. That was honestly one of my favorite things of the episode was Bobby with a big pitcher of beer looking down at a bar stool that's a saddle and just rejecting the idea of sitting on it. And I laughed at that. I laughed at Bobby looking at this place and she's like, you know, she doesn't belong in this place. Like everything about her is like,
Alex said, I found the best. Like he's really excited to drag Bobby to this bar.
And she chews him out because she's got her own plot happening that's very intense, but honestly, all she sees is this fucking man-child. Here he is at his cowboy bar trying to be a rootin' tootin' Martian, which she's pushed back against with him a couple of times. And then what's he doing? talking about the same old fucking bullshit with his family. He hasn't learned a thing since she's seen him last. So she rips his head off, maybe a bit too much. I mean, honestly, he didn't deserve that level of it, but...
No, she was bringing her own baggage.
And what's her baggage? What's Bobby's plot? Your favorite thing,
She's
Bobby
chasing
plot.
down leads. She's trying to find the rotten apples.
And she's doing that by buying weaponry
with Christian's money.
With Christian's money. She buys at the beginning of this one of the mech suit things that they have, one of the fighting Martian suits, but it's an old one.
Yeah.
And it still cost an arm and a leg because it's still military technology that she's buying.
Fishing for a bigger weapon so that she can find somebody that's higher up the food chain. And it burns her lead, and she does a check-in, and I don't really care.
Well, she's also trying to zoom in on trying to get the buy stealth technology to find out who the person in this organization of black market sellers is, the one with the stealth stuff, and how it connects and who they're selling it to. And obviously we know that it's Marco, and that it's most likely like a renegade or a secret black op group of Mars who's working with them, because do you remember
a division that's joined Marco's sect of the OPA?
Because if you recall, the OPA member that Christian interrogated in the first episode, they were all about all about being captured, trying to take stealth technology, if I'm recalling right. So it's been seeded since the beginning that the OPA or like Marco's group have been trying to do this plan, but now it's coming into motion and people are looking into it. Bobby's looking into it, and it's fine.
It does its job. Like, it establishes the current problem that Bobby is facing, and that she's said yes to working with Christian, and that Christian's found a way to work with her.
Here's another challenge to the writers. I'm throwing down the gauntlet. Can you fucking realize that teaming up Bobby with the characters works better than her on her own or with characters we don't like? She's obviously going to, in the next episode, I imagine, talk her. You know, she'll make up with Alex and bring him in on the stuff, and he'll help her out because he is still a respected Martian veteran, so he might have connections. But I really
glorified bus driver that he was.
Yes, I really wish that they would utilize Bobby with the cast more.
Yeah.
It's always like, it's a special treat.
And Bobby.
Hey, Bobby!
There's nothing more to say about the Bobby plot because it's there to set up more plots.
Yep, and I feel that way about Christian stuff. Like, she's there, she's getting ready to go after Marco, she's holding on to some level of power and, you know, entertaining Nancy Gow's whim to, you know, sort of exile her to Luna in a government role.
She's a trophy for Nancy Gow. I defeated you and now you're still working for me, but you're in a redundant position where nobody will care or respect you. But of course, Christian has her own resources and means.
But it's also really to Christian's advantage at this point. Like, she doesn't want the spotlight. She wants to be able to go after Marco on her own. If she was back on Earth, it would be drawing too much attention.
And she would be too busy on the power trip of being the most powerful person.
I'm talking even if she lost the election still, and Gao kept her on Earth.
Oh, yes. Christian she's much more entertaining of a character when she's pushed into a corner and she has to fight her way out of it.
When
that's
she
where we
has a challenge.
And that's where we put her.
In the game of politics.
Where people underestimate her, and yet she's a very intelligent and deadly adversary. And I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm being biased here, but there's a new Admiral character who's barely had any lines of dialogue, but is 10 times more noticeable than the general last season.
Yeah. It feels like he's actually gonna engage with the plot.
I don't know if I'm familiar with the actor or not, but he had a swagger to him. This guy walked in. I don't know what it is, but you know when you play old video games or like when you watch animated stuff and you see like one thing is slightly a different color, it's like, oh, it's because it's going to be interacted with in a second. That's how I feel with some side characters. It's like, they've got extra details or they're a brighter shade of color because they're much more...
It's an actor that you know in the case of the mechanic engineer back on Tycho.
Yeah, May from Discovery. Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. Oh, they're going to be something. And this actor, I haven't looked him up, but whoever this Admiral character is, he walked in at the end of the Amos scene with Christian that we'll talk about, and he was vibrant, and I was like, oh, he's going to be someone in the story, I assume. Like, I
hope so.
Unlike the previous general last season who was nothing, and they didn't contribute anything other than like a really, really lame attempt at hammering in a point.
I do find it really interesting that they're like, this season, everybody's going to be a part. Like, on Ellis, it was just like, Holden and Amos on the planet, Naomi and Alex
and
for like...
Yeah, and Lucia,
Yeah, like a good chunk of the season. And this season is starting off with everybody has their own thing happening. It all connects and links back, but it's just like, you're here, you're here, you're here. Like, it's very spread out again.
It's very pronounced in the scene with Holden alone in the Rocinante. He turns around and there's no one there, and it's just him, and he's surprised, and then he lets go of his coffee cup and it spins in an empty ship. And it was just a very striking scene, solemn, sad in a way that the family isn't together. They're all important and have their own stuff happening, and it was just such a thing. And with Amos, we mentioned that he's heading back to Earth. That's something that we all know from the beginning. He's heading back to Earth. A friend of his died, and I don't know if that's referring to Way or somebody from his past, which is like what I'm assuming that it's the woman who was like a mother to him has died. And he's going to go in and mess shit up because we know that he was a very powerful gangster. He's going back to, where was he from?
Detroit?
Was he from Detroit? I can always forget.
Baltimore,
there we are. So he's going back to, good old Baltimore.
Located in the teeming metropolis known as downtown Baltimore.
He's going back to there. He's going back to Baltimore to deal with the loss of someone important to him. And that's what we've gathered. And that's, we're assuming it's that woman from his past that we've heard just a brief bit about. And
it makes me really excited because I know what the next episode is called.
I don't. So I imagine it's called Amos's Very Big Day. But
Amos's Day Out. The title has more words in it than Amos says in the whole episode.
Oh, of course. Amos's Day Out, in which it's like Baby's Day Out. A bunch of criminals chase after him. Yeah. But he's on his way to Luna first.
Yeah, well, he has to go to Luna to then go to Earth is what we're thinking. And, he has adventures on the way. He beats the shit out of some people in a very hard-won fight. Thus he's, spitting up blood in the shower. but he's needing that exertion. He goes looking for that fight.
He is standing his ground because there are these people trying to muscle all of the passengers for protection money.
And they were ready to pay up.
Of course, but Amos is just doing it for the
'Cause
principle of the thing, and he's
They're
going to...
part of the people that need to be protected.
And he doesn't like bullies.
Nope.
And he has a bloodlust. And he tells this, like, horrifying story about, like, this one time he was caught and there was toxic gas and he held his
Yes.
breath and he did this. And basically, if I can hold my breath for 2 minutes or more, I have enough time to rip you to shreds before the knockout gas gets me. Do you want to fuck with me? And of course, in the end, that guy and his friends try to fuck with Amos and they get fucked over themselves because it's Amos. What did you think of the interesting choice, peculiar choice
Yeah.
of the editing of the fight of Amos cutting from him beating up the people to him after having defeated them? It didn't give you the fight in one thing and then it broke it up.
Not the release. The point isn't to showcase the violence or to glorify it. The point is what it is doing for Amos and to Amos.
It was confronting at first too, because we had like hard cuts to black, then cutting to this. It was just so different for what this show does and the way it handles violence.
The other thing that I was noticing that a bit, like the editing style seems to have shifted a bit. The other thing that I really noticed with that is we have a quiet montage.
Yeah, that's and thinking back to Amos at the end of season 4, one of the last images we had was him with a mouthful of blood, smiling in a rictus grin before attacking. And in this fight, he has those big scary eyes we see when he punches the fuck out of people. But it's hard cutting to this very mixture of like melancholic and serene expression on his face as he's bathing or like has the shower thing on his head and spitting out the blood. It's this kind of in-between point of what we've seen with Amos when it comes to him giving in to the animal side of himself, giving in to the violence, where we've seen him relish in it. Like this is something that is soothing to him, but we've also seen through his character development, it's something that he is uncomfortable with at times. And I thought like...
But he does crave it.
Yes, but I thought that the cutting to him in the shower and the spitting of the blood, the expression in his face, the body language, the sound, all of the glow of the image of him, it was uneasy. It wasn't... It was a mixture of things.
It makes you uncomfortable with the violence, because if it had just been traditional, like choreography, and then he's recovering.
Yeah, like when he
there
beat up.
There would be more of a like, fuck yeah, kick their ass, Amos.
Like when he beat up Miller, and that was kind of funny when he smashed him on the table. But this isn't thrilling, but it also has a level of that grit that we want from Amos beating people up after having brushed his teeth. And he
uses that toothbrush.
Yes, he does. And then he has the conversation with Christian, because Christian knows he's coming and she pulls him in. I liked the escort that he had and how he had to, like a child, explain that he didn't do anything bad.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I left them alive. And the dude's just like,
what?
No, that's no, I'm not here to arrest you. Just
come with us. We're your escort.
You gotta go over here, dude. And Amos just like, okay.
He has the hots for Christian. I think it's very funny. I think it's a funny gag that he thinks that she's like hot shit, and he's always like hitting on her and talking about what she wears and calls her Chrissy, and she's Miss, hey, I'm a member of your parliament, not your stripper.
Respect me. And he's just like, nah.
He's like, can't you be both? You can be both to me.
Like, you're a hot woman first. and then maybe I'll consider your position.
She's,
There
she's...
was a pun to be had there, Ryan.
Oh, of course.
And you
I ignored it. I was too busy thinking about how she is being invasive. She's assuming these things of Amos and having to interrogate him and see if she can use him for her own means. But he's here strictly on a personal matter for once. And it clearly means a lot to him. And then she lets him go. And we see he arrives. And again, a lot of the Amos stuff that is memorable in the episode is not the dialogue, is not the monologue or even the action, but it's those quiet moments where the camera lingers on the shot or on the actor's expressions, and it just brings out something in the viewer. Him landing on Earth, seeing Amos, a child of Earth, actually on Earth, feels the most unnatural thing we've seen
it's like
for him.
You don't belong here anymore, do you?
Everyone is apart. That seems to be the thing of the season, of having
They're still
them
tethered.
all separated from one another, but of course intermingled and tethered, yes. And are you a lover of when ensemble shows or stories reach that point in which to tell their stories, whether it's in an ongoing sense or even an episode, that they have to have them all break apart and have their own separate journeys and then meet up later?
I don't automatically dislike it.
Yeah?
Yeah. But it depends on the strength of each plot and the members of the ensemble.
How are you feeling in regards to this series doing it?
I'm feeling okay because, everybody's got their own thing going on, but it feels like everybody's sort of paired up in ways. Like, Naomi's on her own, but that's paired with, our antagonist of Marco. Holden's got Fred to bounce off. Alex and Bobby are there to bounce off each other, as well as Christian. And Amos is nearby enough that he can get pulled in or be doing something on his own.
Well, that's a great way to describe it. I'm not usually a big fan of this type of storytelling. It's nothing particularly wrong. I like my friends together, and I like having them banter and having them exchange philosophies.
That's one reason that you wouldn't like Skins.
No, I wouldn't like Skins. But it's what I like, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong per se. And this goes into the discussion about what we said at the beginning of how much of the previous season that we did not enjoy clouds things, because we saw in season 4 our characters be broken apart from one another, engage in their own little plots on their own or minorly together, and it wasn't particularly good for us. Christian on her own again, and she phones up people once in a while. We've seen that for her in the entire show. Okay, it can work and it can't. Or Amos on his own can be really good. It was in season 4 when he went through his blindness stuff and he was bouncing off of one or two people. Fine. But Holden on his own, fine. Naomi? I don't know. That's the one I'm worried about the most in terms of will I care? I know I will care in some way because it's emotional, but
stuff previously on her own.
And Bobby on their own plot. Oh, and of course Alex will be there, but still and
Alex.
There's a level of discomfort about this because I still have a bad taste in my mouth from similar storytelling methods from the previous season.
I have a question, Ryan. Does this episode leave a bad taste in your mouth? Or does it leave a yum-yum taste?
On a scale of yum being bad and yum-yum being good, where does Exodus fall? I will give it a yum yum.
Yum yum.
It's because of one thing that really pushed it over the edge.
Yeah.
This is such perfection. It's a small character thing that I thrive off of. You don't need these in your script or in your production or in your story or whatever, but their inclusion just brings a smile to my face, which is after Monica and Holden have their chats at the bar.
Oh, she eats the food.
Not just that. It is Holden is a man of the people, and all of the bar patrons toast to him, and he gives he raises his beer up to them and gives a bit of a smile, and Monica is the odd one out in the room, and then she literally eats his leftovers because he offers them to her. It's like, I'm done with this. Here, have this. And you see her, no, I'm not going to do that. And then she grabs it and eats the noodles, and then she's like looking around and everyone's looking at her, still looking at her as the outsider. It was a small moment, but I loved it as just a perfect encapsulation of her character, which is she's so desperate, she'll literally eat the scraps, she's that in her zone of her job. Like, she's that
but
character.
Also,
it's so good.
How the curiosity is innate within her.
And it's just a funny
thing. And she can't turn down the chance.
That's it. And she
can order her own fucking pot of noodles, but
she's the outsider. Everyone's looking at her as the person who shouldn't be here, even though she is the one who's trying to perhaps do the right thing. That there really pushed the episode over into being yum yum, because that's the type of characterization that The Expanse does that makes the series stand out so much. You don't need big monologues. You don't need 12-episode long story arcs to make characters gripping, and that's an example of.
What the next episode's called?
Well, what are you rating it?
I said yum yum. Yum yum.
Did you say yum yum?
I thought I did, but I'm saying it now.
You just really want to tell us that the next episode's called Amos's Penis. That's what it's called. Rachel's excited.
No.
Do you think he's circumcised or?
It is very much an Amos title, and I am excited. Next episode is called Churn.
Just Churn?
Just Churn.
Not the Churn?
No, just
Churn.
The one word, Churn.
Well,
I think it's going to be Amos back in Baltimore, kicking ass and feeling conflicted about it. And I also think that it's going to have Bobby stuff and her frustrations at the world and trying to find the rotten apples
and she'll bring Alex into it.
Yep.
Okay, I have a slightly different approach to this episode. I think it's also going to be Amos going to Baltimore, wrapping up his affairs. It's going to be a tragic thing. Maybe he'll get embroiled in some kind of fight or something or other. But I think it's going to be a flashback episode where we cut to his past as a child and link it to what he's doing currently. So you'll see him one moment, and then you'll see the woman that has passed away, and you can understand a bit more of why this was important. I don't think that we'll get all of the background information from the flashbacks. I don't think, but we'll get enough.
We won't get everything, but we'll get what we need.
The show is really good at utilizing flashbacks, and with Amos in particular, they've been really good at subtly
little morsels.
Yes, giving us little clues or little pieces to understand the psychological makeup and trauma that has made him the man he is without explicitly saying it aloud at this moment. Like, they've said enough. They don't, and they've really had great tact.
I was abused as a child.
Yes, but
that's why I'm angry all the time.
Yes, if this was Star Trek Discovery, it would have been the Ash Tyler scene. Yeah, like where Ash Tyler says the stuff and then they...
No, I was thinking of a different Discovery example, right?
Oh, there's so many. That's it. There's so many.
I was thinking of Half-Breed.
Half-Breed? Sure.
Spock.
Oh, that... Yes, where Michael Burnham insulted him so much that he became Spock. Yeah. Where the character of Spock got called a half-breed one time, and then he was like, I'm never going to feel a love again.
Yep, I'm going full Vulcan mode for the rest of my life because my sister called me a name.
Well, let's get on out of here because we're getting on a tangent now about things beyond the pale.
Thank you for listening, especially to those patrons who are still tuned in for this outro because you get to hear them first.
We release these episodes over on our Patreon first, so if you support the podcast, you get access to these a lot earlier, as well as our community group Discord channel in which we chat about things, we watch things, we share things, and on our Patreon we have a slew of bonus content that doesn't make it to the main feed, so you should check it on out. So much. Follow us on your social media of choice under yumyumpod or yumyumpodcast. Our email address, if you want to contact us more directly, is
yumyumpod@gmail.com.
Don't forget, you spoil it for us, then you're out, okay? We're a first-time watch of this show. Do not spoil things.
You ruin it for everybody listening.
You ruin it for everyone. Don't give us a, well, I don't think this is a spoiler, and then it is. That's a disappointment. You know what happens to you if you do that? You get to join Havelock, where you're supremely immortal, but we never see you again, okay? If you're naughty, we put you in the Havelock zone. That's what we call it, the Havelock zone, where the Gaunt Belter lives, Bobby's lover lives, like these characters, Anderson Dawes lives, I guess, these characters who were in the show and then mysteriously disappear. You live in that zone if you do that. But that's another prediction. Next episode, the churn, the person from Amos's past will be the mother of the Gaunt Belter.
See you then. Well, voila.